What's up, guys? Thank you so much for coming to the Cryptographics YouTube channel and checking out today's video. Today's video is awesome because people who've staked Hex now get free Hedron. And we're going to talk about that in a sec. But again, welcome. This is the channel for you if you like Pulse Chain, Hex, PulseX, and you want educational content, news, as well as updates as to what's happening within the ecosystem on a daily basis. So let's get into today's video and talk about Hedron, the first ever layer 2 solution built on Hex. All right. Let's do it. So, oh, I'm in the wrong one here. Cool. Let's go. All right. Hedron crypto. First layer 2 built on Hex. So what you might be asking is, okay, how does it, because Hex is a token, right? So how does a token get built on a token? Well, we're going to get into that. Check this out. So what is Hedron exactly? Like I said, first layer 2 solution to be built on top of Hex. But what it is, or what it does, is it allows users to tokenize their stakes. Stay with me, which creates an NFT out of their stake. So I'll come back to that in a minute, but let's just keep going for now. Hex stakers normally cannot get out of a stake without either emergency end staking and losing either some of their yield, like their payout or interest, but we'll use yield, or some of their principal, depending on how far into their stake they are. So by staking through Hedron and tokenizing their stake, users are able to sell their stake to someone else and cash out while not hurting that stake itself or their principal or their interest. They just cash out at the time for whatever someone deems or they deem that that stake is worth. So the easiest way to think about it is Hedron, you can stake through Hedron. Hedron encapsulates it and makes it something that can then be moved from owner to owner. Instead of it being just completely staked in the Hex smart contract and locked in, it can now be moved from owner to owner, right? On something like OpenSea, or when you see like the monkey JPEGs or anything like that, you can put your Hex NFT on there, and we'll get into why that's important later. But for now, as long as you understand that it's essentially wrapping itself and creating a Hex stake that can now be moved around from owner to owner, or you can get out without ending your stake, it's very important to know. So let's keep going. So why is it huge for Hex holders? There's lots to talk about here. But if users previously staked through the Hex smart contract, users can mint Hedron, basically create Hedron token for themselves for the life of the stake. This is essentially free Hedron minus the gas fees for every day the stake has been going. So think of it like this. You have a stake and it's been going for 100 days out of 365. When Hedron launched, you would get, and let's say you had one T share, just so we can understand how this works here. Hedron works in B shares, so it's 1/1000th of, it's basically, one T share is 1,000 B shares, right? So if you have 1,000 B shares or one T share, you're getting normally 1,000 Hedron per day for the life of the stake that you get for free through Hedron just by staking, and then you mint whenever you like. You can mint daily, it's going to cost you gas fees, or you can mint all the way at the end of the stake. And not only did people who have staked and are in Hedron get free Hedron, the Hedron price has already done a 10x from its all-time low in a matter of around 11 days. I think it did the 10x in a matter of a little bit less time, but basically since its launch, it did a 10x from the very bottom. Or yeah, sorry, the bottom came in at day 4, I think it was, and so it's been like a week to do that 10x, meaning users who minted for just the gas fees essentially got a free 10x on their free money, which actually, now that I think about this, and I'm going to call myself out on stream here so you can see that I'm looking at this from all angles. So if they minted for free, they didn't get a 10x because the price of Hedron launched at around, what was it? Actually, I think I have TradingView up here. Let's go to TradingView right now. We're going to do some live looking to see what it went in at. So the launch price was somewhere around here. So it's 0.005. So if it launched and you claimed, you've got a little bit of a bonus here, which is not too bad. But if you mint it and then you bought a little bit down here or down here, you got over a 10x, which is crazy. So just to clarify, you didn't get a 10x, but what you did do is you did get over a 10%. I guess it would be close to like 45% increase on your free money already. And those people who had large stakes got a lot of Hedron, because when you mint within the first 100 days, you have the option to either claim or mint. There's a multiplier that goes down every 10 days, starts from a 10x and reduces by 1 every 10 days. So the first 10 days are 10x, then 9x, then 8x, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But the way it actually works is it's not actually 10x, it's an 11x. And the 9x is actually 10x because it's your amount that you get per day normally plus that times 10. So it's not just the amount you get times 10, it's that plus the amount you get times 10, which is huge. So you're getting a lot of extra Hedron, and the price is going up already 45%. So only if you mint it, just mint it. If you bought a little bit, you're way up. And so that's huge, but let's keep going. So yeah, the users got 11x more Hedron than their stakes normally produce, and the price went up 45%. Again, I'm sorry I got the 10x on there. Realize again as I'm talking it out here. But just think about how much money, even free money, that is. Especially if you decided to throw like $50 or $20 or $5 at the very bottom, which we're still in Hedron. It's so early. It hasn't even been 2 weeks. I think it's been 2 weeks now, but still very, very early stuff. So let's take a look at the interface and how it works. So when you have your wallet connected to Hedron, this is what it looks like. At the very top, you can see there's browse liquidations. You connect your wallet, add Hedron to MetaMask. The browse liquidations function we'll get to a little bit later, and why that's actually even there in the first place. And the create hex stake instance, you can see through the system how much has been minted, how much has been borrowed, and how much has been burnt. There actually has been some burnt already. There hasn't been any that I can see there that has been, or it's not a lot because maybe it's covered by that orange line. But it looks like 0 has been borrowed so far, and over 4 trillion has been minted in total. So now let's look at the bottom here where it says the stake type. So you got the native stake type. So in this case for this, it's not an HSI or a Hedron staking instance. It's not wrapped in Hedron. It's just a native to hex.com stake. It shows the stake status, mint only. That is during the multiplier phase, it will show you what, and I'm sure that will actually change when you do an HSI as Hedron staking instance, instead of just mint only. Maybe there's something else, but all to be determined there. On the stake B shares, it'll show you how many B shares you have. Yeah, like I said, if you have a T share, you get 1,000 B shares. The number of days you've served, out of however many days to go. And then you have a bonus multiplier on this top stake here. It is a 10x. So it actually means an 11x bonus multiplier. And then the bottom, it's 9x, which actually means it's a 10x bonus multiplier. So that's huge. And it shows you obviously cumulatively the mintable Hedron daily, and that adds up. And then you can mint those at a later date if you've claimed them. And this button on the right where it says mint, that actually is going to be a different button when you first go in. If you go in during this first 100 days, it will be, there's a claim option to not mint your Hedron, but claim the bonus and let everything build up. And as time goes on, as your Hedron stack that is mintable, it fattens up. You can mint that at a later date and extract it all at once. Just pay 1 gas fee and just unlock in your bonus multiplier. So that's pretty freaking awesome, if you ask me. But let's talk about what happens if you stake Hedron through the protocol. So by staking through Hedron, your hex stake is encapsulated, like we talked about. It becomes an HSI, aka Hedron NFT. Once you have this HSI, you now have the ability to borrow Hedron against it. Based on the future amount of Hedron, your HSI will allow you to mint. Now, I haven't gone into the borrowing side of it, so I'm not super familiar. I know the basics, but on a personal note, I probably won't ever touch the borrowing feature. Sounds like it could be a little bit dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So keep that in mind as I keep talking here. But you have to make installments. Like if you take your Hedron loan, you have to make installments on your Hedron every 90 days. And if on the 90th day an installment does not happen or installment payment doesn't happen, your stake can be liquidated. This means that it can be sold on the Hedron liquidations market, like we saw on this one here, which is browse liquidations, and someone can buy it. All they have to do to buy, if there's no other bidders, is they have to pay your last payment that you couldn't make, which that sucks. But more likely than not, that's not going to happen. And there's bidding that can happen. So someone could come in and they can make a bid, and basically the auction can continuously go until within the last 5 minutes of the auction, no one bids. So if someone right at the 5-minute mark before the auction is done bids, there's 5 minutes. If someone bids within that 5 minutes, an extra 5 minutes is added. If another person bids, an extra 5 minutes is added. And I believe this keeps going on. So the bidding could get high depending on the type of stake it is or how long the stake is in general. Not the type of stake, it's an HSI, but how long the stake is, or the payments that are needed too, right? Maybe it's a fraction of what it's worth in payments. And so you could see a massive bidding war that happens. And once your stake is an HSI, the only other major benefit is the ability to transfer ownership of your stake to someone else and be bought out, which is still huge because it's a protection, right? You don't have to then sell your HEX. You can then sell your actual stake. You can get a large portion of the money that it is valued at, plus whatever you value it at. Because if it's a 15-year stake and you're 3 years in and HEX is still so early and someone else, and you know what it's going to be worth roughly, or know you think it's going to be worth, you can still get a substantial amount of money out of that you extract from that stake without having to end it. So huge bonuses for doing the HSI stake. And realistically too, if you're doing longer stakes, it may be wise to consider doing HSI stakes in general, because in 15 years, anything can happen. And this really opens up a whole new avenue for fail safes with HEX, because like I just said, in 15 years, you never know what can happen. Look at the geopolitical climate we've got going on right now with everything in all countries, even outside of the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. Like, nobody knows what's about to happen. So, I mean, like, if you do a 15-year stake and you're through HSI and you need to get out, you're probably going to be able to get out. If you do a regular stake and after a year, or 15-year native stake or regular stake, and after a year you need to get out, you're nuking. You're basically getting rid of your entire HEX bag that you staked, or the entire amount of HEX that you staked. Whew. So think about that, right? We don't know what's happening. This could be huge considering what's been going on in the world and where things are going to be going with like CBDCs, or what happens with the economies, or like with the World Economic Forum, with the war in Russia or war in Ukraine. We don't know. So this could be huge for all of those reasons and for what's going on. And let's take a quick look at the flow chart. So if you do we're just going to start on the right there. If you start a native stake, you have the option to mint Hedron, get your launch bonus, and receive your Hedron tokens. If you go through HSI, you can then borrow or get your advance, receive your Hedron tokens, and then you have to slowly repay them in full. You can also, like we talked about, tokenize it. You can transfer ownership. You can sell it. That's also a really cool thing to note. So let's say, for whatever reason, someone gets a hold of your wallet, like a hacker does, and they don't realize what your NFT is, but they've sold, let's say you had some ETH in there and they stole your ETH, right? But they don't know what your HSI is. You could send that before they got to it to another wallet directly to hold your NFT before they could ever get their hands on it. That might be a very, very big security feature, in my opinion, for HEX. And then secondarily, if nothing ever happens and you just need to get out, you can just sell your NFT, someone else takes over, and they get the stake when it comes out of, or when the stake ends. And then, of course, you get to mint Hedron and you get your bonuses, you receive your Hedron tokens, and then you can buy with that Hedron liquidated stakes. So there's lots of stuff going on here. They do have a Telegram channel. Twitter is at Hedron Crypto. And again, I'm going to list the website in the description, but hedron.pro is where you can go to see all this and much, 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 much more. So let's continue. So the big question, though, is it safe? And we haven't touched on this yet, so let's do it. So the one thing personally that I have loved about HEX is it's immutable. It's unstoppable. No one can turn it on. No one can turn it off. It is just running. It is locked. And the same thing goes for Hedron. So for me, that's a big deal. When someone has admin keys or when someone has the ability to, pause things here and there or update. Like I don't like roadmaps personally. I don't like the idea that things are being implemented on the fly because you never know when a bug is going to be introduced because there's been no testing. The testing seems to be happening on the fly and the audit comes down the road, but then you still have people involved and it doesn't really sit well with me. And the founder of Hedron, super transparent, and he's willing to answer questions on the Twitter space through voice chat or YouTube live streams, and on Twitter in general. Super informative. Like you can go in these Twitter spaces and just sit there and ask him question after question after question after question, and he will just be completely open with you. And I've heard some really in-depth discussions where they've gone into more of like the law side of things and business and talking about far beyond what I'm capable of understanding. But the guy, Alex, is very, very, very intelligent and transparent. And I think that speaks volumes to the long-term safety of something like Hedron. And another thing about Hedron as well is the hex OA, the origin address, which has basically held a large portion of the supply from the get-go in hex, has never interacted. And before I go any further, this OA has always acted in benevolent ways for hex. So it's always been working and done anything in the best interest of hex. And the hex OA has never interacted with any other protocol, but it interacted with Hedron. It claimed the bonus and it minted Hedron for the first time ever. It's the only one that it's ever interacted with. So on a personal note, that seems like a sign. When the only thing the OA for Hex, which seems to be making very intelligent moves and is always making sure that it's working in the interest of Hex users, has also used Hedron, big plus for me. So I really like it. Also, Hedron has an audit that can be found on hedron.pro. And I mean, overall, through the sentiment throughout Twitter and through people that are much more qualified than I am to speak about safety and just have knowledge on code and what it takes to make something solid in general, all seem to be under the consensus that it is safe and that it is something that is a net positive and it will be a long-term, a very good positive addition to the Hex ecosystem in the long term. So on a personal note, I do so far think that it's safe. I will gladly update my view if things ever change. But for now, and please do your own research because I'm just some dude on the internet. Don't trust me. Go look it up. Go to Hedron Pro. Go talk to people on Twitter. Go watch other videos. Go read the documentation. Go research Alex. Go listen to Alex. Go talk to him. Go tweet at him. Find out this information for yourself before locking in a HSI stake or claiming or anything at all. And what does this mean for the future of Hex, though? So, for one, there are currently just over 11,000 holders at the moment. Just 11,000. Hex currently has 284-ish holders, 284,000 roughly holders at the moment. And Hex's price did a 10,200 and something X from its lowest point to its highest point. It's like in the 9,000 range right now. It's obviously it's swung down to about 10 cents or 12 cents. So we're a little bit of a dip, but still, and the price from the bottom of, because this was expected to happen. The reason why this happened was, and if you remember the chart, we went from a high when it first launched, people sold it off, it went to the bottom. And at that bottom, from there to where it is now is over a 10x. So the price performance from just 11,000 holders has been fantastic if you bought at the bottom. Even if you just held your free minted stuff, it's gone up 45% from when you got it to where it is now. So it's still very nice. But it just also means that Hex stakers are going to be able to get passive income from Hedron and not have to touch their stakes. You can always have another source of income coming from their Hedron, especially because we don't know what the price is going to do. If Hedron does a 10,000x, just hypothetically speaking. The price would be around 0.005, so half a penny. And at that point, your B shares, if you stake 100 days for 1,000, you're basically going to get 100,000 at a half a penny. So basically a percentage of that. So you get $1,000 just from a 100-day stake with one B share, and that's no bonuses, right? If you claim now, you get a 10x bonus on that, or 11x, or 10 right now. But still, passive income, especially now if you're early, like that's in the future. If you're doing it now, you're more likely to get, especially because Hex is cheap, so you're able to buy more if you're buying Hex now, as well as you're able to, if you lock it in now too, you're getting the multiplier. So it's looking good for passive income for Hedron as well. It also shows that Hex can be built upon and more benefit can come to those who delay gratification and wait for more to be built to complement the Hex smart contract. So people who are staking, it seems that those so far are getting the rewards for what is being built. I mean, we've only had Hedron built on it so far, but still, it seems as though people who stake are the ones who might get the future airdrops or the benefit from it, because Hex was designed for that delayed gratification type of investing. So by utilizing its main function, so far Hedron has rewarded users for doing it. Will the second, right, and so on and so on, if there is a second or third. But it just shows that it can be built on, period, which is huge. And I'm expecting some things to come in the future that are not this, but they will have a built-on Hex protocol. So another thing that's huge for the future of Hex is it means that Hex will be the last thing to be sold in the case of needing funds. And we kind of already touched on this, but still, like, it protects Hex from being sold by giving the ability to mint Hedron, or in a worst case, borrow Hedron ever before selling Hex. So your Hex is your last resort. Your last resort is touching your Hex. You can mint, you can borrow, then you sell. Last case or worst case scenario. It's a nice protective layer around your baby, right? It also means that any Hedron you've claimed, locked in the bonus multiplier during the first 100 days, or minted, will get a duplicate on the Pulse chain. This is big. Okay, so any ERC you get, period, is going to be copied over to the Pulse chain. However, because this is essentially free for $9, you're getting whatever the value of your Hex stake is in Hedron, you're getting that duplicated. So as you can see here, if you have 10 million Hedron through minting, you will now get 10 million on the Pulse chain for a total of 20 million if you brought them over. That's huge. And if you buy, that'll obviously go up. So if you're buying and you're minting, and you're investing in the long-term prospect of Hedron as well, you're going to get duplicated. Like if you get, like, I don't know, 50 million or 100 million or a billion, you're going to get, or a trillion if you're crazy, the good kind of crazy. Then you get double whatever is on the Ethereum chain. You get that on Pulse chain as well. So there's a lot of really cool things for the future of Hex that could be coming through this, and through the idea of what this brings to other people, for developers to see that it's possible. Who knows what could come for the future, especially when Pulse chain goes live too, which I will get to in another video. We'll explain Hex more, Pulse chain, and Pulse X. But for now, because Hedron is so new, it's a hot topic, I did want to make a video about this today, just to cover as many bases as I could in like half hour, 40 minutes or so. And final thoughts. I actually really like Hedron. I think it's cool. I love the logo. I think Alex is great. I think the founder Alex is great. And overall, I think it adds just so much. It adds more depth to Hex in general, and it further incentivizes reasons to get into Hex, and further incentivizes delayed gratification, because now you get rewarded through Hedron through delaying your gratification in your Hex. And I love it. I think it's a great idea, and I think it sets, like I was saying before, a precedence of what can be done for the future and what else might be built on Hex as well, and just how much potential money, free money, could come in the future just from having and staking Hex. So I'm super excited. I love Hedron. I love the idea. I think everything that they're doing is fantastic, and yeah, that's my thoughts. So I would love to know what you guys thought, obviously, because there's so many different ways to look at this. If you have anything that you're concerned about, anything you want to know, drop a comment. If you want me to cover anything in the future, obviously we're going to cover Pulse Chain, Pulse X, and Hex. But if there's anything else you want to see me cover in the future, drop a comment. Let me know. Please like the video, smash the subscribe button, and let the algorithm push me up through the saturated YouTubes, so that way this video can go to other people and get other people interested in Hedron and make them find out, because it's a very, very niche crypto at the moment. And I would love for other people to get involved and find out about this sooner rather than later, because personally, I didn't get into Hex in day one, and I would have loved to, obviously, or day 10, whatever the bottom was. But I would have loved to be able to get that message out to people and, obviously allow them to make their own decisions, but give them the opportunity to see it, because who knows what would have happened, right? But that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Again, go to cryptographics.com. There's blog posts there. I actually have a Hedron blog post that I will drop in the description as well. There are shirts, hoodies, soon to be hats at some point when I get the logo coloring right. But please, guys, like, subscribe, go to Cryptographics. Check me out on Twitter as well. Cryptographics, or at Cryptographics Clothing. There's at Cryptographics. Check out Twitter. Come talk to me there. Let me know what you thought, and have a great day. I will see you in the next one. Peace.